Buried in the earth of central China stands an army of 8,000 soldiers made of clay, each with a different face, set there to guard a tomb that no one has opened in more than 2,000 years. The old histories say the tomb is rigged with crossbows and flooded with rivers of liquid mercury, and beneath its hill, which looks like a natural mountain but was raised by human hands, lies the man who made China, the first emperor. The clay army was uncovered only about 50 years ago, by accident, by farmers digging a well. And it is merely the outer guard. Whatever waits at the center has never been seen by modern eyes. Qin Shi Huang united a continent, swore his empire would last 10,000 generations, and then set out to defeat the one enemy he could never conquer, death itself. Before him, there was no China, only 7 rival kingdoms locked in some 500 years of war, an age so violent that history simply remembers it as the Warring States period. Into that world, a prince named Yingzheng became king of the state of Qin at just 13. Qin was the most ruthless and disciplined of the 7, a war machine built on strict law and absolute obedience. Beginning in 230 BCE, with brilliant generals and an army that terrified its rivals, he devoured the other 6 kingdoms one by one. In 221 BCE, the last of them fell, and for the first time, all of China answered to a single man. A title like king was no longer enough, so he took one that had never existed. Huangdi, the first emperor, who swore his line would last 10,000 generations. He did not yet know the only enemy who could defeat him was already inside him. Then he welded his conquered lands into one nation, abolishing the old kingdoms and ruling through appointed officials answerable only to him. The blueprint for how China would be governed for 2,000 years. He standardized almost everything. One script for all writing, one currency, one set of weights and measures, even a single fixed width for cart axles, so wagons could run the same roads across the whole empire. He linked the walls of the northern states into one rampart against the nomads, the first great wall, raised from rammed earth and countless lives, and he melted his enemies' weapons into 12 colossal statues of bronze. He drove highways, canals, and palaces across the land on a scale never seen before. It was one of the most astonishing bursts of empire building in all of human history, and nearly all of it flowed from the will of one restless, untiring man. But the man who had bent all of China to his command was haunted by one thought he could not order away, that he, like every ruler before him, would someday die, and he decided that he simply would not. Qin Shi Huang became obsessed with immortality. He had survived several assassination attempts, and each brush with death seems only to have deepened his terror of it. He wanted quite literally to live forever. He sent expeditions across the sea to find the islands of the immortals and an elixir of eternal life. One, led by an alchemist named Xu Fu, sailed east with hundreds of young people and was never seen again. Legend says that Xu Fu, knowing there was no elixir and fearing the emperor's wrath, simply kept sailing and founded a colony in a distant land, perhaps even Japan. The emperor went on, waiting for a miracle that would never sail back to shore. At home, his alchemists brewed him elixirs of life, pills laced with mercury and cinnabar. The first emperor swallowed them for years, certain they would make him divine. In all likelihood, they were quietly poisoning him to death. When scholars dared to question his methods and his rule, his answer was brutal. In 213 BCE, at his chancellor's urging, he ordered the burning of books, the histories and philosophies that might let men compare his reign to the past. The next year, the histories say, some 460 scholars were rounded up and buried alive. It became the great symbol of his tyranny, the emperor who tried to erase the past and silence every voice in China but his own. But here we should be careful. Almost everything we know about the first emperor was written down later, under the very dynasty that replaced him. And they had every reason in the world to paint him as a monster. Many modern historians think the legend is inflated, that the book burning was narrower than claimed, and that a number of those scholars were in fact alchemists, punished for the fraud of failing to deliver the elixir he craved. Yet beneath the propaganda, the core is real enough. A ruler so afraid of death and so jealous of his power that he would burn knowledge itself to hold on to both. And still, death was coming for him. In 210 BCE, while touring his empire in search of yet more secrets of immortality, the first emperor died, most likely poisoned by the very elixirs meant to save him. The man who would live forever was gone at 49. What happened next reads like a thriller. His chief minister and chief eunuch, fearing the empire would shatter if the news got out, hid the death, pretending the dead emperor still lived inside his curtained carriage. It was high summer, and the body began to rot, so they loaded carts with salted fish and drove them beside the imperial wagon, masking the stench while officials bowed to a dead man for weeks on end. Behind the curtain, they forged the emperor's final will. They ordered his rightful heir, the elder son Fusu, to take his own life, and he obeyed. In his place, they raised up a younger, weaker son they were sure they could control. He became the second emperor, but the true power was the eunuch Zhao Gao, who ruled through him like a puppet. Zhao Gao's grip grew so absolute that he once led a deer into court and calmly called it a horse. It was a test of loyalty. Any official who dared to call the deer a deer was marked for death. At the heart of the empire that was meant to last 10,000 generations, the truth itself had stopped mattering. Outside the palace walls, the empire was unraveling. Crushed under heavy taxes, endless forced labor, and savage punishments, ordinary people had been pushed to the very edge, and now they had nothing left to lose. In 209 BCE, a band of conscripts caught in the rain realized they would be executed simply for arriving late. So they rose up, the first great uprising against the Qin, and the spark that set the entire empire ablaze. Revolts erupted everywhere. Inside the palace, Zhao Gao turned on his own allies, drove the second emperor to suicide, and was soon murdered himself. The dynasty had begun to devour itself from within. By 206 BCE, barely 4 years after the first emperor's death, the empire he swore would last 10,000 generations was simply gone. From its wreckage, a rebel of peasant birth named Liu Bang rose to found the Han dynasty. Some say the Qin fell because of its own cruelty, but many historians now believe it was never doomed at all, that it was brought down by the chaos after the first emperor's death, by a forged will and a puppet on the throne. The empire he had sworn would rule for 10,000 generations had lasted barely 15 years. And yet, all that time, the first emperor had been building something designed to outlast every dynasty that would ever follow. For 38 years, an army of laborers, the histories claim 700,000, had raised him a tomb unlike anything the world had seen, beneath an artificial mountain near Mount Li. According to the historian Sima Qian, the chamber was a model of the whole empire, a ceiling set with pearls as the stars of heaven, and across the floor, the great rivers of China recreated in flowing liquid mercury. Mechanical crossbows were set to fire on anyone who entered, and lamps were filled with whale oil meant to burn forever. It was a sealed universe, built so the emperor could go on ruling even after death. And a mile away stood his guard, thousands of life-size warriors of clay, archers, charioteers, and horses in full battle formation, each and every face different, as though modeled on a real and living army. In the end, his deepest mark on the world was not the tomb at all. The empire vanished in 15 years, yet the system he built endured for 2,000. Every dynasty that came after kept the design he had laid down. He even gave the world its name for his land. From the word Qin, pronounced Chin, came the name that nearly every language on earth still uses for that country today, China. And here is the strangest part of all. Today, scientists scanning the Great Mound have confirmed it. The chamber is intact, and the soil holds abnormal levels of mercury, exactly as Sima Qian wrote 2,000 years ago. And still, no one will open it. No technology can safely preserve what lies inside, and the mercury would be deadly. So the man who tried to conquer death lies sealed beneath his hill, his last secret unbroken, guarded by an army of clay. Empires fall, people remain.